I look for places that I call my oxygen spaces, and Equity in the Center is an oxygen space. So I come to these places to get refilled, to learn.
I am constantly impressed by the people that I meet in these spaces, by the talent and potential that they have, and by what I think they're capable of. And I think that especially in times like this, that is incredibly inspiring.
So Equity Center really started as a collaboration. There were 5 organizations that were part of the Learning Lab with the Annie Casey Foundation, and 3 groups felt like this was fundamental to what needed to change in the sector: ProInspire, Public Allies, and AmeriCorps alums. That goes beyond the borders of the work that we do, the organizations who we work with, and really is about how do we collaborate and use different levers to push the field.
I was really impressed in terms of the conversations that we all were having around race, around equity, around gender, and how that shows up in philanthropy and what that means. I also read the Awake to Woke to Work, and I loved that report, and I loved some of the ways in which we were talking about the different levers within an organization to advance justice and advance equity. And I think there were certain pieces of it that really resonated with me.
One of the challenging things when you're talking about racial equity, transformation, and how big these problems are, sometimes it's overwhelming for people to think about, okay, how am I gonna really make a change? And so what got me excited about Equity in the Center was that they were able to take these really challenging ideas and put it into a structure that makes it more accessible to people.
We're in a moment when more and more foundations are, at last, I might say, embracing racial equity, particularly on an internal level. One thing I've noticed in talking with other foundations is that field of those facilitators and practitioners is not very organized. It's a lot of independent consultants, small firms, or organizations that do other work besides facilitation. And so in talking with other funders, we often ask each other, who did you use for that internal racial equity training, or with your board or with your staff?
I am oftentimes in networks that are very much focused on philanthropy or impact investing. And so what was great was I came in with just an expectation to learn and meet a lot of new people, and it's not a space I've ever been in before. And I was just blown away by how nice it was to be in a new community rooted in conversation around racial equity. There were just these moments where I felt like somebody said something that was just so clear, and it just really helped me to ground in, like, wow, that feels like a really important shift that I want to incorporate into my work.
We cannot build the kind of society that I want to live in, and that I think a lot of people want to live in, if we don't pay attention to equity, and especially racial equity and intersectional racial equity. And so as a straight white man, I think it's in my self-interest to build a society where everyone is treated fairly and where we have more equitable outcomes. And I wish more white people, especially folks in philanthropy, also saw it that way.